Welcome back to Season 2 of It's All Admin. I'm Catharina from the Baptist National Support Centre, and this season I'm breaking down some of the top policy and compliance issues currently facing Baptist churches in Aotearoa with the help of the National Support Centre team and some special guests. Today, Marianne Hunt, our Administration Coordinator here at the National Support Centre, is joining me as we talk all things fire safety. Morena, Marianne.
Morena, Catharina.
Now, over the last year, we've been asking our churches to let us know key information in relation to their properties. Some of these things include fire evacuation schemes, building warrant of fitnesses, or BWOFs, and health and safety plans. One of the things that I've noticed in going through responses from churches is that there is a little bit of confusion about how some of these things interact together.
Yeah, it can be confusing, and that is why we're here today, as it is important for protecting people in our places. Nobody wants to deal with the fire department or WorkSafe if something goes wrong, do they?
Well, I know I definitely don't. So let's break this down. What would you say, Marianne, is the key focus of each of these requirements?
Firstly, the fire evacuation scheme. So this focuses on ensuring that procedures for evacuation are in place, they meet minimum requirements, and that evacuations are trialled or training is in place, which gets reported to Fire and Emergency New Zealand, or FENZ. For those that want to know, there are two pieces of legislation: Fire and Emergency New Zealand Act 2017 and the Fire and Emergency New Zealand Regulations 2018 that this is all based off. For the building Warrant of Fitnesses, which is like a health check for buildings, it focuses on ensuring the building is safe, including in the event of a fire, and meets specific standards set by the government. So these are assessed by an independent qualified person who then reports to the local council who issue the BWOF. Lastly, the health and safety in general. So this will have some overlap as it involves policies and procedures for the building and the people that use it. This, however, is not reported anywhere, and the responsibility to have it in place and reviewed regularly is yours. And it's all covered by the Health and Safety Work Act 2015.
Wow, it's quite a bit when you put it all like that.
Yep.
And several of the same systems, by the sounds of it, would be overlapped between a fire evacuation scheme and a BWOF?
Yeah, the equipment assessed in a BWOF is often a part of the evacuation scheme, and not everyone will have both a fire evacuation scheme and a BWOF.
Yeah, that's true. A fire evacuation scheme is most commonly required by our churches if you have a capacity for the gathering of 100 or more persons at any time, but also it could be something like if you have office space for more than 10 people, or multi-unit housing, or a childcare centre. Whereas a BWOF is required if you have specified systems installed. There's a list online, you can Google it. Mm-hmm. And a compliance schedule for those is usually issued by the local council as part of a building consent for the installation of a specified system.
Yeah, if you don't know whether you require an evacuation scheme or a BWOF, the FENZ website has really helpful guides to the evacuation scheme requirements, and your local council can check or advise around BWOF requirements.
That's helpful. Now, what's the difference between standard fire evacuation procedures that we already have in place and a scheme?
Great question. So the evacuation procedure describes how occupants will escape to a place of safety if there is a fire alarm. This will include signs, extinguishers, etc. The scheme is when you submit evidence of those procedures and a plan to the fire department of FENZ for them to approve. So getting an approved fire evacuation scheme is only required if you meet the requirements you mentioned earlier, such as the capacity for 100 people, whereas evacuation procedures should be in place regardless.
So pretty much any building for that one then. So between fire evacuation schemes and BWOFs, it seems like a lot of reporting and paperwork to keep up on.
Yeah, but there's help. So an approved scheme is fairly straightforward to apply for online now. FENZ has lots of resources available, and if your application is not sufficient, they will work with you to get the right procedures in place. You might even get a site visit from the local fire brigade to have a look around your building. Once it has been approved, you just need to maintain it with 6 monthly trial evacuations or a training program that you got FENS approval for. We recommend that you do at least one whole congregation Sunday trial each year because there is a lot of learning that can happen from those. The only thing is that you have to update your scheme if you have any changes to your procedures, which shouldn't be much admin at all. For BWOF, you will have a schedule listing, all the systems that need to be assessed. Generally, you would employ an IQP, so an independent qualified person, or the company, who can do all the assessments and assist you in filing with your local council. So there is a cost for this, but it makes it a lot easier and less work for you to maintain once it's in place.
That's a great summary, thanks. And people can always get in touch with us here at the National Support Centre too if they have any questions.
Just send me an email at info@baptist.org.nz and we can help point you in the right direction.
The Baptist Union, as the legal property owner for most Baptist church properties, must ensure that these things are in place, which is why we ask you all those fun questions. Thanks, Marianne, for taking the time today to talk with me about this. And I also just want to say thank you to all the churches who have engaged with our property questions over the last year. There will be ongoing reminders coming your way, but if you could let us know when you get a new evacuation scheme, do a trial evacuation, or get a new BWOF, that would be much appreciated. And let's all work together to keep people safe in our places.
Yes!